the weakest Deathworlder. The arena went silent when the human fell. Her body hit the metal floor with a hard sound that echoed through the massive hall. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then the laughter began. Hundreds of alien cadets filled the seats around the combat arena. Some laughed loudly. Others whispered behind their claws, wings, or armored hands. A few simply shook their heads. The human was still on the ground. Her name was Venn. She had arrived at the Galactic Military Academy only 3 days earlier. And already, everyone had decided what she was. Weak. Mara slowly opened her eyes. Her vision was blurry. The ceiling lights looked like small white stars above her. Her ribs hurt. Her left shoulder felt numb. Somewhere in the crowd, an alien cadet shouted, "Get up, Deathworlder!" More laughter followed. Mara placed one hand against the floor. She pushed herself up. Her legs shook. For a moment it looked like she might fall again. But she stood. The laughter became quieter. At the other side of the arena stood her opponent. His name was Korak. He was a Veron warrior nearly twice Mara's size. Thick plates covered his chest and arms. For powerful legs held his body above the ground, and 2 long horns curved backward from his head. Korak looked at Mara with open amusement. "Are you sure this is the human they warned us about?" he asked. The crowd laughed again. Mara said nothing. She simply watched him. The instructor standing above the arena looked down at her. Commander Thalen was an old military officer from the Tarsin species. He had trained soldiers from more than 40 worlds. He had seen dangerous creatures before. He had heard the stories about Earth. Humans came from a death world, a planet with violent storms, deadly animals, harsh environments, extreme temperature changes, a world where survival was never guaranteed. The galaxy had a simple belief about Deathworlders. They were supposed to be monsters, strong, fast, hard to kill. But Mara did not look like one. She was smaller than most cadets in the arena. She carried no heavy armor. She had no claws, no horns, no thick skin, no natural weapons. She looked almost ordinary. Commander Thalen frowned. "Venn," he said through the arena speaker. "The examination continues when you are ready." Mara looked toward him. "Ready." Her voice was calm. Korak laughed. Then he charged. The floor shook beneath his weight. Mara moved backward. Too slowly. Korak's arm struck her chest. She flew several meters. The crowd exploded with cheers. Mara rolled across the floor and stopped near the edge of the arena. Someone shouted, "Is that all?" Mara breathed slowly. She did not answer. Korak turned toward her. His 4 legs moved into position. He was preparing another attack. Mara watched him carefully. This time, she noticed something. Before every charge, Korak moved his right rear leg slightly backward. Tiny movement, almost impossible to see. But Mara saw it. Korak attacked again. Mara stepped aside. His fist missed her face by a few centimeters. The crowd became quieter. Korak turned. He attacked a 3rd time. Again Mara moved. Not fast. Not dramatically. Just enough. Korak's fist passed beside her. Mara watched his feet. There it was again. The same movement. Right rear leg. Then the shoulder. Then the strike. She understood. He had a pattern. Korak suddenly changed direction. Mara barely avoided the blow. The edge of his weapon-like arm struck her shoulder. Pain shot through her body. She stumbled. Korak smiled. "You're learning slowly." Mara looked at him. "No." She took a breath. "You're repeating yourself." The smile disappeared from Korak's face. He charged again. This time Mara waited. The audience watched in confusion. She did not run. She did not attack. She stood still. Korak moved closer. His rear leg shifted. His shoulder turned. Mara stepped exactly 1 pace to the side. Korak's enormous body rushed past her. Mara grabbed the loose armor strap on his side and pulled. She could never overpower him. She knew that, so she did not try. Korak lost balance. His 4 legs crossed for 1 brief second. That was enough. His massive body crashed into the arena wall. Boom! The entire hall went silent. Korik struggled to rise. Mara stood behind him, breathing heavily. She had not defeated him with strength. She had simply waited for the right moment. Commander Thalen stared at the combat display. The match timer showed that Mara had survived for 11 minutes. That was not supposed to happen. The Academy had expected her to last less than 2. Thalen looked at Mara's file again. There were strange notes in her record. Survival training, extreme weather exercises, mountain rescue, deep water survival, desert navigation, hand-to-hand combat against larger opponents. Hundreds of training hours. Mara had not been trained to become the strongest fighter. She had been trained to survive situations where strength alone was useless. Thalen finally understood something. The human had not been fighting Korik. She had been studying him. "End the examination," Thalen ordered. Korik slowly stood. His pride was badly damaged. But before he could say anything, every light in the arena turned red. A deep alarm shook the building. Woo-woo! The laughter vanished instantly. The giant doors around the arena slammed shut. Cadets looked at one another. Commander Thalen touched the communication device on his wrist. "Control, report." Static answered him. Then a frightened voice came through. "Commander, we have an emergency." Thalen's expression changed. "What kind?" Pause followed. Then the voice returned. "Unknown ships have entered the Academy's restricted airspace." The crowd began to panic. Thalen looked toward the giant windows above the arena. Outside, the bright sky suddenly darkened. Not because of clouds, because something enormous was moving across it. A shadow passed over the Academy. Then another, and another. Mara looked upward. Her face became serious. The Academy had the best defense system in the sector. No unknown fleet should have been able to get this close. Yet someone had. The communication system suddenly came alive again. This time a different voice spoke. Cold, calm, and completely certain. "Galactic Military Academy. Surrender the human." Every cadet froze. Commander Thalen looked at Mara. Mara looked back at him. For the first time since she had arrived, nobody was laughing. The voice returned. "You have 10 minutes. Then the communication ended. Mara slowly looked toward the sealed arena doors. She had spent 3 days being called weak. 3 days being mocked. 3 days listening to aliens explain why humans were not as dangerous as the stories claimed. Now an unknown enemy had crossed half the galaxy, and they had come for her. Mara tightened her injured hand. Somewhere above them, the first explosion shook the Academy. The lights went out. And in the darkness, Mara whispered the only thing she could think of. They made one mistake. Nobody heard her. But they would. Very soon. What humans learn on Earth. The Academy was dark. For several seconds, there was no sound except the low hum of emergency systems. Then another explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. Several cadets lost their balance. Commander Thalen immediately activated his wrist display. Nothing appeared. The entire defense network was offline. "How did they get through?" one officer asked. Thalen did not answer. He was staring at the arena doors. The enemy had not simply attacked the Academy. They had disabled its defenses before announcing their presence. That meant they had studied the Academy. They knew its systems. They knew its weak points. And somehow they knew Mara was inside. A third explosion struck. This one was closer. The arena shook violently. Some of the younger cadets began moving toward the emergency exits. "Stay where you are," Thalen shouted. Nobody listened. Panic spread through the crowd. Mara remained still. She was looking at the main display. It was dead. But one small light beneath it was blinking. Once, twice, then 3 times. Mara walked toward it. Thalen noticed. "What are you doing?" "Watching." "Watching what?" "The attack." Thalen frowned. "There is nothing on the screen." "I know." Mara crouched beside the control panel. She placed her hand near the metal surface. The panel vibrated slightly. She closed her eyes. The vibration came again. Very faint. Then another. Mara stood. Their weapons are not hitting randomly. Thalen looked at her. What? The explosions. She pointed toward the ceiling. They are hitting communication points. Thalen checked the damage system. Mara continued. First the defense grid, then the long-range transmitters, then the emergency relays. Her voice remained calm. They are cutting the Academy's ability to call for help. A senior cadet stared at her. How would you know that? Mara looked at him. Because if they wanted to destroy this place, we'd already be dead. Nobody spoke. Her words changed the mood inside the arena. The attack was not meant to destroy the Academy. It was meant to isolate it. Thalen finally understood. You're saying they want to capture us? Mara shook her head. Not us. Her eyes moved toward the dark ceiling. They want me. Before anyone could respond, the arena doors opened. Not because the system had recovered. Something had cut through them. Metal began to glow red. The cadets stepped backward. A hole appeared in the center of the door. Then a black armored figure walked through. It was taller than a human. Its armor covered almost every part of its body. A strange blue light burned inside its helmet. Another figure followed. Then another. The enemy soldiers entered the arena in perfect silence. Korik stepped forward. He was still recovering from his fight with Mara. He raised his weapon. I'll handle them. The first enemy soldier moved. Korik attacked. His weapon struck the soldier's armor. Nothing happened. The alien soldier grabbed Korik by the arm and threw him across the arena. The giant Veron crashed into the floor. Everyone froze. Mara studied the soldiers. Their movements were strange. Too exact. Every step was the same. Every turn happened at the same speed. No hesitation. No emotion. No reaction to danger. Mara whispered, "They're connected." Thalen heard her. What? They're sharing information. One soldier raised his weapon. Mara grabbed Thalen's arm and pulled him down. A blue energy beam passed over their heads. It struck the wall behind them. Mara rolled away. The soldiers turned together. All of them looked at her. She realized something. They were not searching for her. They already knew where she was. One of them spoke. Human Mara Venn. Mara stood. Yes. Come with us. She looked around the arena. Hundreds of cadets. Many were injured. Some were terrified. Mara knew she could not defeat the soldiers in a direct fight. So she did what she had done with Korik. She looked for a pattern. The soldiers moved together. When one moved left, the others adjusted. When one raised his weapon, the others changed position. Their reactions were almost instant. That meant they were receiving information from one source. Mara looked at the ceiling, then at the floor, then at the walls. She suddenly noticed something. A tiny blue light beneath the armor of the nearest soldier. Pulsed every few seconds. Mara smiled. Thalen noticed. What did you find? Their signal. What can you do with it? Break it. Mara ran. The soldiers reacted immediately. 3 weapons fired. She jumped behind a damaged training machine. Energy struck the metal. The machine exploded. Mara kept moving. She reached the emergency control panel. Her fingers moved quickly across the surface. Thalen shouted, "That system is offline." "I know." "Then what are you doing?" "Making it useful." Mara pulled open the panel. Inside were old mechanical controls. The Academy had kept them as backups. Most modern species never used physical systems anymore. Humans did. Mara twisted 2 switches. Nothing happened. She tried again. A red light appeared. The emergency training system activated. Gravity inside the arena changed. The alien soldiers suddenly stumbled. Their synchronized movements broke. One fell to a knee. Another crashed against the wall. The cadets stared. Mara had not destroyed the enemy. She had simply changed the rules. "Move!" she shouted. The cadets rushed toward the exits. Thalen stayed behind. "What about you?" Mara looked toward the soldiers. "I need to know who sent them." Thalen grabbed her shoulder. "That is suicide." Mara looked at him. So was fighting Korik. She walked toward the nearest fallen soldier. His helmet was damaged. She pulled it away. There was no face underneath. Only a smooth black surface covered with glowing lines. Thalen stepped closer. What is that? Mara touched one of the lines. A message appeared. Not in the Academy language. Not in any language Thalen recognized. But Mara recognized one symbol. Earth. Her expression changed. They've been watching us. She accessed another fragment of the soldier's memory. Images appeared. Earth. Human cities. Military bases. Hospitals. Schools. Families. Millions of people. Thalen stared at the display. This invasion was planned long before today. Mara nodded. Yes. Then another image appeared. A huge alien fleet. Thousands of warships. All heading toward one blue planet. Earth. Mara's breathing stopped for a moment. The Academy attack was not the invasion. It was a test. The real attack had not even started. A final message appeared on the damaged screen. Target. Earth. Operation. Harvest. Time remaining. 19 days. Thalen looked at Mara. What does harvest mean? Mara stared at the image of Earth. She remembered something from her childhood. A teacher once told her that Earth had taught humans one lesson better than any school in the galaxy. When the world becomes dangerous, adapt before it is too late. Mara closed her fist. We have 19 days. Thalen looked toward the burning academy. And what can we possibly do in 19 days? Mara turned toward him. For the first time, the commander saw something different in her eyes. Not fear. Not anger. Determination. Learn faster than they can kill us. Far above them, hidden beyond the damaged academy's atmosphere, another enemy ship opened its communication channel. A cold voice spoke to the fleet. The human has discovered the operation. A second voice answered. Then begin the next phase. Thousands of engines came alive in the darkness. And somewhere far away, Earth had just become the target of the largest hunting fleet the galaxy had ever seen. 19 days. That was all Earth had. The number followed Mara everywhere. 19 days until the enemy fleet arrived. 19 days until millions of people could become targets. 19 days to prepare a planet that had no idea a war was coming. The damaged academy was still under attack when Commander Thalen ordered every surviving officer into the command room. Mara stood beside the central table. A holographic image of Earth floated above it. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds, beautiful, peaceful, and completely unaware. Around the table, alien officers argued. We need the Galactic Council. They will need proof. We need a full fleet. Where will we get one? The Academy defenses are already gone. Mara listened without speaking. Everyone was thinking about weapons. Nobody was thinking about the enemy. That was the first problem. Thalen turned toward her. You found their operation. What do you think they will do next? Mara looked at the enemy data. They will not attack Earth immediately. Several officers frowned. Why? Because they believe they have time. She pointed toward the alien fleet image. They have spent years studying Earth. They know our military strength. They know our ships. They know our major bases. She paused. They also think they know how humans react. Thalen understood. They expect panic. Mara nodded. And they expect us to defend the obvious targets. One officer laughed nervously. So what? We let them attack. No. Mara touched the map. We stop being predictable. The room became quiet. Mara began marking locations across Earth. Military bases, orbital stations, major cities, communication centers. Then she removed several points. These are the places they expect us to protect. Thalen looked at the map. Then where do we defend? Mara pointed to empty areas. Here. An officer stared at her. Those are civilian zones. Exactly. They won't attack those. Mara looked at him. They will. The officer shook his head. Why? Because they think humans will never sacrifice civilians. Mara's expression hardened. They are right. She removed the civilian locations. We won't sacrifice anyone. We will move them. The officers slowly understood. Mara was not planning a traditional defense. She was planning to make Earth look weak in all the wrong places. The idea was dangerous. It was also their only chance. Within hours, hidden communication channels opened across Earth. Military leaders received warnings. Scientists were brought into secure rooms. Emergency teams began moving key systems underground. Old satellites were activated, and used airfields became temporary bases. Even civilian ships were quietly moved away from major population centers. Nobody outside the inner circle knew why. The world continued its normal life. People went to work. Children went to school. Trains moved between cities. The oceans remained calm. But beneath that peaceful surface, Earth was preparing for war. Mara returned to the Academy's damaged hangar. A small human transport ship waited there. Thalen followed her. You should rest. Mara checked the ship systems. I'll rest when we reach Earth. You've been awake for 30 hours. I know. You were injured. I know that too. Thalen sighed. Humans are strange. Mara looked at him. You've only met one. That may be enough. For the first time, Mara smiled. Then the smile disappeared. The ship launched. As it left the Academy, Mara looked through the window. The station was burning. Hundreds of lives had been lost. She knew the attack was not over. The enemy had learned that she was dangerous. Now they would change their strategy. She was right. 3 hours later, the enemy commander received the report. The human has escaped. The commander stood inside a dark chamber. He was called Varric. He had commanded battles across 7 systems. He had never respected humans. But now he was curious. How did she escape? Our soldiers lost synchronization. Why? We don't know. Varric turned toward the officer. Find out. The officer hesitated. We recovered 1 damaged memory unit. Show me. A hologram appeared. It showed Mara inside the Academy. Running. Falling. Standing again. Varric watched silently. Then he noticed something. Mara had been hit several times. Yet every time she fell, she changed her approach. She never repeated the same mistake. Varric leaned closer. Stop. The recording froze. Mara was standing beside the damaged control panel. Varric studied her face. She learns from failure. The officer looked confused. Is that unusual? Among most species? Varric nodded. Yes. He enlarged the image. Most soldiers are trained to follow successful patterns. He pointed toward Mara. She does the opposite. He continued watching. Every failure gives her new information. The officer remained silent. Varric suddenly looked concerned. Earth must not be given time. He turned toward the fleet commander. Change the schedule. That would require bypassing the outer defense systems. Do it. The fleet could lose thousands of ships. Varric looked at him coldly. Then lose them. The attack time changed. 19 days became 11. But Mara did not know that yet. Her ship entered Earth's atmosphere. The sight below her was almost normal. Clouds, cities, mountains, ocean, home. She had left Earth when she was 17. Now she was coming back as something she never expected to become. A warning. The ship landed inside a hidden military facility beneath a mountain. The moment Mara stepped out, soldiers surrounded her. General Elias Ward approached. He was one of the few humans who already knew the truth. He looked at Mara's damaged uniform. You found them. Mara nodded. They're coming. How long? Mara hesitated. 19 days. A communication officer suddenly ran into the room. General. Ward turned. What happened? We just lost contact with 3 orbital satellites. Mara's face changed. How long ago? 6 minutes. She looked at the ceiling. They're already here. Everyone froze. Ward shook his head. That is impossible. Mara pointed toward the communication screen. No. It means their scouts arrived before the main fleet. She moved toward the display. A small red mark appeared above the Pacific Ocean. Then another. Then 6 more. Mara stared at them. They're testing our response. Ward asked, "What should we do?" Mara answered immediately, "Nothing." The general stared at her. "Nothing? If we respond now, they learn where our defenses are." She looked at the red marks. "We let them believe we haven't noticed." Ward understood. Earth would become a trap. But there was another problem. The enemy scouts were not simply watching military bases. They were moving toward cities. Mara studied their paths. Her eyes narrowed. Why are they going there? Ward looked at the map. Maybe they want civilians. No. Mara zoomed in. The scout ships were moving between several cities in a strange pattern. Mara suddenly realized what they were doing. They're mapping our power network. Ward frowned. Why? Mara's voice became quiet. Because they don't want to conquer Earth. She turned toward him. They want to shut it down. The room became silent. If the enemy destroyed Earth's global power and communication systems first, the planet would be blind. No satellites. No internet. No emergency networks. No military coordination. Billions of people would become isolated. Then the main fleet could arrive. Mara stared at the map. She knew what had to happen next. Give me access to every old communication system on Earth. Ward blinked. Why? Because we're going to build a network they don't know exists. She walked toward the operations room. Something the galaxy forgot humans still understand. Ward followed. What? Mara looked back. How to survive without everything. Deep beneath the mountain, engineers began pulling old equipment from storage. Radio systems, mechanical switches, analog transmitters, systems built decades ago. Technology the modern world had almost forgotten. Mara knew something the enemy did not. The Dominion had studied modern Earth. They had studied its satellites, its digital networks, its military computers, its advanced weapons. But they had not studied the things humans stopped using. And that meant Earth still had one hidden advantage. Something no alien database had recorded. As the first enemy scout moved closer to the planet, Mara looked at the old radio equipment. She quietly said, "They're coming to a world they think they understand." Then she switched on the first transmitter. Across Earth, hundreds of forgotten stations suddenly came alive. And somewhere beyond the moon, an enemy scout detected a signal. The operator frowned. "What is that?" His screen showed nothing useful, only static. Then the static changed. A voice appeared. Human. Calm. Clear. "Welcome to Earth." The scout operator froze. Mara had just announced that humanity knew they were coming. But she had not told them the most important part. The signal was not a warning. It was bait. The galaxy sees Earth. The enemy scout did not fire. It simply watched. Inside the small alien vessel, 3 operators stared at the strange signal coming from Earth. There was no military code, no warning, no request for surrender, only a human voice, calm, almost friendly. "Welcome to Earth." The message repeated. Then the signal disappeared. The alien commander looked at his screen. "Locate the transmitter." "We can't." "Why?" "It isn't coming from one location." The commander frowned. The signal appeared again. This time it came from somewhere else. Then another signal appeared on the opposite side of the planet. Then another. Within seconds, hundreds of weak transmissions filled the communication network. The scout operators became confused. They could not tell which signal was real. The commander finally understood. They are using old communication systems. One operator looked surprised. Old systems. Systems our scanners ignore. He leaned closer to the display. "Find the strongest one." The operators tried. Nothing happened. Every signal looked identical. That was exactly what Mara wanted. Deep beneath a mountain in North America, Mara watched the same network. The room was filled with old machines. Some had been sitting in storage for decades. Engineers had repaired them within hours. They looked primitive compared with modern alien technology. But Mara was not interested in making Earth more advanced. She wanted to make Earth harder to understand. General Ward stood beside her. You think this will work? Mara kept her eyes on the screens. It already is. A technician looked up. Enemy scouts are moving. Where? Toward the Atlantic. Mara nodded. Good. Ward stared at her. You wanted them to move? Yes. She pointed toward the map. They think the strongest signal is coming from there. Ward looked confused. Isn't that dangerous? It would be if the signal were real. The technician smiled. It isn't. Mara had created hundreds of false communication centers. Most were empty. Some contained nothing but old transmitters. Others were buried underground. A few were mobile. The enemy would waste time attacking shadows. But Mara knew the Dominion would eventually discover the trick. She needed something bigger. Something that could protect Earth even after the enemy understood the deception. The room suddenly shook. Everyone stopped. A technician looked at the orbital display. Something just entered the moon's shadow. Mara moved toward the screen. A large red marker appeared. Then another. Then dozens. The main fleet had arrived earlier than expected. Ward's face tightened. How many? The technician swallowed. At least 8,000 warships. Nobody spoke. 8,000. Earth had nowhere near that number. Ward looked at Mara. We're outnumbered. Mara stared at the fleet. No. Ward frowned. What? We're not fighting 8,000 ships. She pointed toward the screen. We're fighting their belief that 8,000 ships make them unbeatable. Ward did not understand. Mara continued. They expect us to gather our fleet. She highlighted several orbital stations. Then they'll destroy those first. She moved the map. They expect our fighters to protect the cities. Another movement. They'll attack those next. Ward finally understood. They know our patterns. Exactly. Mara turned toward the military officers. So we stop giving them patterns. Earth's fleet did something the Dominion did not expect. Nothing. No massive formation appeared. No defensive wall surrounded the planet. No battleships moved into position. The orbital stations remained silent. The enemy fleet waited. 1 minute. 5. 10. Nothing. The Dominion commander became suspicious. Where are the humans? His officers checked every scan. Earth has almost no military movement. The commander smiled. They are afraid. He ordered the first attack. Hundreds of ships moved toward Earth. They expected resistance. Instead, the planet remained quiet. The fleet entered Earth's atmosphere. Nothing happened. The alien pilots became confident. Then the first ship disappeared. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Simply gone. The commander stood up. What happened? Pilot responded. We lost the ship. How? We don't know. Another ship vanished. Then another. Then 6 more. The fleet slowed. A strange distortion appeared across the radar. Mara watched from Earth. Now. The technician activated the hidden network. Thousands of old transmitters came alive at once. But they did not send messages. They sent interference. The alien fleet sensors became confused. Their targeting systems began receiving false information. Some ships saw mountains where there were oceans. Others detected enemy fleets that did not exist. Several pilots suddenly believed they were under attack from their own allies. Chaos spread through the invasion force. Ward watched the screens. What did you do? Mara answered simply. We made them blind. The Dominion commander ordered every ship to switch to manual control. That solved the problem. For a few seconds. Then Earth's rail defense appeared. Not from space. From below. Hidden missile systems opened beneath mountains. Small launch platforms rose from underground shelters. Thousands of human drones entered the sky. They were not powerful. They were not advanced. But they were everywhere. The Dominion fleet fired. The human drones scattered. Some were destroyed. Others changed direction. They moved like birds. No fixed formation. No predictable path. The alien weapons struggled to lock onto them. Mara had learned something important from the Academy attack. The Dominion was extremely powerful when its systems could predict an enemy. So Earth gave them something they could not predict. Uncertainty. The battle spread across the atmosphere. Human ships finally appeared. But they did not attack the main fleet. They attacked fuel ships, repair vessels, communication carriers, medical transports, anything that kept the larger warships operating. The Dominion commander watched his fleet slowly lose support. Who is commanding them? An officer answered. We don't know. The commander stared at the battle. Find the human leader. Thousands of miles away, Mara watched the same fight. Ward approached her. They're looking for you. I know. They may find you. I know. He hesitated. Then why stay here? Mara looked at him. Because if they find me, they'll think I'm the center of Earth's defense. Ward's eyes widened. You aren't. Mara shook her head. No. She pointed toward the screens. Earth is. That was the difference. Mara had never wanted to become Earth's strongest weapon. She wanted humanity to stop depending on one. The battle continued. The Dominion began losing control. Then their commander made a decision. If Earth would not surrender through fear, he would force it through destruction. A massive ship moved away from the main fleet. Its engines began charging. Mara noticed it immediately. What's that? The technician checked the data. His face went pale. It's a planetary weapon. Ward looked at Mara. Can it destroy Earth? Mara studied the numbers. Not the whole planet. She paused. But it can destroy a continent. The room went silent. The weapon began charging. The Dominion commander sent one final message across every human frequency. Surrender the planet or we erase one piece of it. Mara stared at the screen. She knew this was the moment she had been preparing for. The enemy had stopped trying to understand Earth. Now they were trying to break it. Mara looked at the planetary weapon. Then she noticed something strange. The weapon was not aimed at a major city. It was aimed at a place almost nobody would choose. The Arctic. Mara's eyes narrowed. That's not an attack. Ward turned. What? Mara zoomed in. The weapon isn't targeting the population. She studied the coordinates. They're trying to destroy something under the ice. A technician checked old satellite records. There is nothing there. Mara shook her head. That's why they're attacking it. She remembered the enemy data from the Academy. Operation Harvest. Earth's power network. The old communication systems. The hidden signals. Then everything connected. The Dominion had not come to conquer Earth's cities. They had come for something buried beneath the planet. Something humans themselves had forgotten. Mara stepped away from the screen. Cancel every planned attack. Ward stared at her. Why? Because we're not defending Earth anymore. She looked toward the Arctic coordinates. We're defending whatever is under it. Far above the planet, the Dominion weapon reached full power. The commander gave the order. Fire. A beam of energy began falling toward the frozen north. Mara watched it approach. For the first time since the invasion began, she looked genuinely afraid, because she finally understood what the enemy had come to Earth to find. The Deathworlder definition. The beam crossed the sky like a second sun. It moved toward the Arctic at incredible speed. Mara watched the countdown on the screen. 20 seconds. 19. General Ward turned toward her. What is under the ice? Mara did not answer. She was still looking at the enemy data. The strange signals. The old communication systems. Operation Harvest. Everything seemed connected. Then she remembered the damaged soldier at the Academy. This memory had shown Earth. Not military bases. Not weapons. Not cities. It had shown the planet itself. The oceans. The mountains. The deep places beneath the surface. Mara suddenly understood. They aren't hunting humans. Ward frowned. Then what are they hunting? Something we never knew we had. 10 seconds. 9. Mara pointed at the screen. Move every satellite away from the Arctic. Ward stared at her. Why? Because when that beam hits, I want to see what comes out. The countdown reached 0. The planetary weapon fired. A massive wave of energy struck the frozen surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire Arctic shook. Ice exploded into the air. A deep crack appeared across the frozen land. It stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Something beneath the ice began to glow. Every screen inside the command center turned white. Then a signal appeared. Not human. Not alien. Something older. The technician stared at the symbols. We didn't send that. Mara stepped closer. The symbols changed. A translation appeared automatically. Welcome, children of Earth. Nobody moved. Ward whispered, children. Mara felt cold despite the warm room. Another message appeared. Survival test. Active. Then the signal vanished. Ward looked at Mara. What was that? She shook her head. I don't know. A second message appeared. This one came from the Dominion fleet. The enemy commander was speaking. His voice was no longer calm. It was frightened. Stop the attack. Mara looked toward the communication screen. The commander continued. You do not understand what you are protecting. Ward answered. Then explain it. Silence followed. Finally, the alien commander said, your planet is not a normal death world. Mara's eyes narrowed. Keep talking. The galaxy has records of thousands of dangerous worlds. Earth is not one of them. Ward looked confused. Then what is it? The commander hesitated. A sealed world. Mara felt her heart beat faster. What is sealed? The alien commander looked almost afraid. Something that should never wake. The transmission ended. The room became silent. Then alarms began screaming again. The enemy fleet was changing formation. Ward looked at the display. They're retreating. Mara watched carefully. No. What? They're not retreating. The Dominion fleet was moving away from Earth. But its ships were turning toward the Arctic. Every vessel was focusing its weapons on the same location. Mara understood. They're trying to destroy whatever is waking up. Ward looked at her. Can we stop them? Mara looked at the fleet. We have to. Human ships began moving toward the Arctic. But the Dominion had already surrounded the region. Their largest warship descended through the atmosphere. Its hull was covered in dark armor. At its center was a massive energy core. Mara recognized it. It was the same technology used in the Academy attack. The enemy had brought their strongest weapon. She turned to Ward. I need a ship. You need an army. No. Mara looked at the enemy vessel. I need to get inside that ship. Ward immediately shook his head. Absolutely not. If I can reach their command system, I can shut down the fleet. You already did that at the Academy. They learned. Ward stared at her. And what happens if they learned how to stop you? Mara gave him a tired smile. Then I'll have to learn something new. Minutes later, a small human transport launched from the hidden base. Mara sat alone inside. She carried no heavy armor. Only a light combat suit, a compact weapon, and the damaged alien device she had recovered at the Academy. The transport approached the Dominion flagship. The scanners immediately detected her. Unknown human vessel, the alien commander said. Identify yourself. Mara opened the communication channel. This is Mara Venn. The bridge became silent. The commander responded. You came alone? Yes. Why? Mara looked toward the Arctic. Because you want me. The commander laughed. You think we are afraid of you? No. Mara's voice remained steady. I think you're afraid of what's under the ice. The laughter stopped. Mara had confirmed it. The commander was hiding something. She continued. Let me aboard. Why would we? Because you have two choices. She looked at the massive fleet. You can keep firing at Earth and wake up whatever is down there. She paused. Or you can let me help you stop it. The commander was silent. Then the transport was pulled inside the flagship. Mara entered the ship under armed guard. Dozens of alien soldiers surrounded her. She recognized some of their armor. The same soldiers that had attacked the Academy. But this time they were different. Their movements were not perfectly synchronized. They were watching her individually. They had learned. Mara smiled faintly. Good. The nearest soldier raised his weapon. Why are you smiling? Because you're finally thinking for yourselves. The soldiers exchanged confused looks. Then the commander appeared. It was Varric, the same alien who had watched her academy recording. He walked toward her. You are smaller than I expected. Mara shrugged. People say that a lot. Varric stopped in front of her. You have caused the destruction of 3 invasion groups. 4. His expression hardened. You killed soldiers. So did you. I followed orders. So did they. Varric looked toward the Arctic display. Your planet has something buried beneath it. Mara said nothing. It was placed there thousands of years ago. By whom? We don't know. Then why are you afraid of it? Varric's face became serious. Because our ancestors found another world like yours. Mara waited. They tried to open it. What happened? 1 city survived. Only 1. No. Varric looked at her. 1 survivor. Mara felt a chill. What was it? Varric answered quietly. We never learned. The ship suddenly shook. Both of them turned. A violent wave passed through the vessel. The lights flickered. A warning appeared across every screen. Arctic signal rising. Varric looked terrified. Mara stepped toward the window. Far below, the ice was breaking apart. Something enormous was moving beneath it. The Dominion fleet opened fire. Thousands of weapons struck the Arctic. The planet shook. Then the ice split completely. A gigantic structure rose from beneath the frozen surface. It was not a ship. It was not a weapon. It looked like a massive black tower buried inside the planet. Ancient symbols covered its surface. Mara stared at it. She suddenly recognized the shape. It was built like a door. Varric whispered, No! Mara looked at him. What? The alien commander stepped backward. We were wrong. About what? He looked at the rising structure. Earth was never the Deathworld. The tower began to open. Varric's voice became barely audible. Earth was the prison. The entire planet shook. And beneath the Arctic ice, something opened its eyes. The Deathworlder who redefined strength. The eye beneath the Arctic opened. For 1 terrible second, the entire world seemed to stop. The ocean became still. The wind disappeared. Even the Dominion fleet stopped firing. Something ancient was awake beneath Earth. Mara stood inside the alien flagship, staring through the glass. The black structure had opened like a giant door. Light poured from the cracks beneath it. Varric stood beside her. His face had lost all color. What is it? Mara asked. The alien commander did not answer. He was watching the sky. A second light appeared. Then a third. Thousands of small objects rose from beneath the ice. They were not weapons. They were memories. Images filled the sky. Ancient cities. Strange creatures. Worlds that no longer existed. Mara watched them appear one after another. Then she saw Earth. But it was not the Earth she knew. The planet was younger. The continents were different. And something enormous was flying above it. Varric whispered, That was the first Deathworld. Mara looked at him. Earth? No. He shook his head. The creature. The image changed. A massive living being moved through the ancient sky. It had no armor. No machines. No weapons. It simply adapted. It survived every environment. Every attack. Every attempt to destroy it. The ancient civilization that discovered it had feared it. So they created a prison. Earth. They built the prison around the creature and buried its remains deep beneath the planet. But the creature had never truly died. It had become part of Earth. Its energy had slowly spread through the planet. The storms, the harsh climates, the strange natural balance, the constant pressure that forced life to adapt. Mara stared at the image. So Earth made us. Varric nodded. Not exactly. He looked toward her. Your world taught you. The ancient structure began to shake. The Dominion fleet opened fire again. Varric shouted, Stop! His officers looked at him. Commander! "Stop firing!" But it was too late. The attacks struck the structure. A deep wave moved across the planet. Every Dominion ship lost power. One by one, their engines went dark. Human ships suffered the same problem. For several seconds, nobody could move. Then the ancient structure sent one final signal. Mara's damaged device began glowing. She pulled it from her belt. The same symbol appeared on its surface. She understood. The device was not a weapon. It was a key. Varric saw it too. "Give it to me." Mara stepped back. "No. You don't understand what it can do." "Neither do you." Varric raised his weapon. Mara did the same. For a moment, they stood facing each other. Then the ship shook violently. A piece of the ceiling collapsed. Varric fell. Mara could have left him. Instead, she grabbed his arm. She pulled him away from the falling metal. The alien commander stared at her. "Why?" Mara looked at him. "Because I'm not you." Varric looked confused. "You should hate me." "I do." She pulled harder. "But that doesn't mean I have to let you die." Together they reached the command deck. Mara inserted the ancient device into the main system. The ship came alive. Every screen showed the same message. "Choose." Mara stared at it. Varric stepped closer. "What does it mean?" "I don't know." The screen changed. Two options appeared. Awaken. Sleep. Varric immediately pointed toward the first option. "Awaken it." Mara looked at him. "Why?" "Because it can destroy the entire Dominion fleet." "And Earth." Varric paused. The answer was obvious. Nobody knew what would happen if the creature fully awakened. Mara remembered the academy. Korik's attack. The enemy soldiers. The frightened cadets. The people on Earth who had no idea they were being hunted. She could not gamble with billions of lives. "We choose sleep." Varric stared at her. "You would give up that power?" "Yes." "Even after everything we did?" Mara looked at the screen. "Power is not useful if using it destroys what you're trying to protect." She selected sleep. Nothing happened. Then the ancient structure began closing. The lights beneath the Arctic faded. The enormous presence beneath Earth disappeared. The planet became quiet again. Across space, the Dominion fleet slowly regained power. But their weapons were gone. Their command network had collapsed. Their soldiers were exhausted. Earth had survived. Varric looked at Mara. "You could have destroyed us." "I know. Why didn't you?" Mara looked through the window. Because she had finally understood something. The galaxy had spent centuries measuring strength by destruction. The largest ship. The strongest soldier. The deadliest weapon. The greatest empire. But Earth had survived without being the strongest. It had survived because humans kept finding another way. Varric lowered his weapon. Then he did something no human expected. He removed his command badge. He placed it on the floor. The Dominion surrenders. The message traveled across the fleet. One ship lowered its weapons. Then another. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The invasion was over. Hours later, Earth's skies were filled with human and alien ships. Not fighting. Watching. The Galactic Council finally arrived. They expected to find a conquered planet. Instead, they found Earth standing. Mara returned to the military academy weeks later. The same arena waited for her. The same walls. The same floor. The same place where she had once been laughed at. But this time, the seats were full again. Alien cadets stood when she entered. Korik was among them. He walked toward her. For a moment, Mara expected an insult. Instead, the massive warrior lowered his head. "I was wrong." Mara smiled. "About what?" "I thought strength meant being stronger than everyone else." He looked around the arena. "Now I think strength means knowing what to do when strength is not enough." Mara nodded. "That's closer." Commander Thalen stepped forward. He held a new academy record. For centuries, the term Deathworlder had been used as a simple label. A creature from a dangerous planet. A creature that survived because it was strong. Thalen changed the official definition. Deathworldr. A being shaped by hardship, capable of adapting when the impossible stands in its way. The entire academy became silent. Mara looked at the words. She thought about the day she had first arrived. The laughter, the judgment, the arena floor, Korik's fist, the pain. She had not become stronger because she stopped being weak. She became stronger because she refused to let weakness define her. Years later, young cadets would still hear the story of Mara Venn. Some would remember the invasion. Others would remember the ancient prison beneath the ice. But the best students remembered something simpler. A small human had entered the academy. Everyone expected a monster. Instead, they found a person who could fall, learn, change, and stand again. And that was what changed the galaxy. Not her fists, not her weapons, not even the ancient power beneath Earth. It was her choice. Every time she had the chance to destroy, she chose to protect. Every time she failed, she learned. Every time someone called her weak, she kept moving. Moral: true strength is not always found in the person who can hit the hardest or defeat the most enemies. Sometimes, strength is quiet. It is the courage to stand after failure. It is the wisdom to learn from pain. It is the ability to change when the old way no longer works. And most importantly, it is the choice to use your strength to protect others instead of proving that you are stronger than them. Mara was called weak because the galaxy only measured power by what someone could destroy. But Earth taught her something different. You do not have to be the strongest person in the room to make a difference. You only have to be the one who refuses to give up. And sometimes, the person everyone calls weak is the one who teaches the whole galaxy what strength really means. Thanks for watching. See you in next video.